Thank you so much, Steve. And now let me introduce our candidates. I am going to be pulling from your bios. So this is, we have just make these up about these folks. This is what they have to say about themselves.
Now let's turn to the candidates for the 4th Congressional District. Eric Jones grew up in a working class family where his family relied on food stamps and disability checks just to get by. That experience fuels his fight to stand up for working people, not corporations or the ultra-wealthy. In his career, Eric helped grow companies that created thousands of jobs in the healthcare industry. But he also saw how our economy is rigged against working families. That's why he's running for Congress to lower costs, hold PG&E accountable, crack down on corporate price gouging, and invest in healthcare, housing, and climate solutions that actually deliver for our communities. Eric rejects all corporate PAC, special interest, and APAC money because he believes elected officials should answer to the people, not powerful interests. Mike Thompson currently serves as the congressman for California's 4th Congressional District. Recognized as a strong representative for his constituents, Thompson has worked on solutions that stand up to the Trump administration, protect our democracy, lower the cost of living, and support our vulnerable communities. Mike is a member of the House Committee on Ways and Means, where he is the ranking member of the Tax Policy Subcommittee. He also sits on the Health Subcommittee. If re-elected in the next Congress, he will be chair of the Health Subcommittee, where he pledges to fight to enact single-payer health care like Medicare for all. He also serves as the chair of the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, where he was able to get the most significant gun safety legislation in the last 30 years.
I think we're ready for some questions. Does that sound good to you? Should we dive in? Okay. For the candidates, Sabra, who you heard us introduce everybody in the very beginning, is going to be our timekeeper. So she's got a sign down there if that's helpful to you. I want to just take this kind of left to right, starting with you, Eric. And this is a question for everybody. Having a fascist party in power has fundamentally changed our politics. It's simply not business as usual any longer. In this moment, how should the Democratic Party respond? And how should individual members of Congress step up? We'll start with you, Aaron.
Simply put, say no. There have been many occasions in the past year where Democrats, despite performatively saying statements against the Trump fascist regime, have actually voted in accordance with Trump's policies. And when you look at the actions, when there has been an occasion where we voted, we collectively Democrats, with Trump, it's generally been along corporate establishment lines. So I can refer to the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, where our government authorized $1 trillion of military spending. Trump needed Democratic votes because there was anti-war Republicans who said no, and he knew exactly where to get them. He went to the corporate establishment wing of the Democratic Party, those who take money from Lockheed Martin, from the oil and gas industry, and from all the special interests that have continued to fuel war abroad and war at home. On January 14th, we voted for the National Security Appropriations Act. Again, corporate Democrats sided with Trump to pass that bill. That was 7 days after Renee Good was murdered in the streets of Minneapolis. And I felt particularly strongly about that vote because I was in Minneapolis protesting. We don't have to vote with Trump. We have to have the courage to say no.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to Indivisible for making this happen today, and thank you to all of you for being here. This is an extremely important time. There has never been a time in any of our lives that are as serious as the times that we're in right now, and Donald Trump is a clear and present danger to the continuation of our great country, to every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth, and he has to be stopped, and his mega enabler opinion. And on the last one, I want to thank Indivisible for the role you played in turning out the troops. The number of people that came out to your rallies sent a message. It was loud and clear, and people across the country heard. For those of you who came to my Impeach Kristi Noem rallies, thank you. People heard. She's gone. And the forever wars that this guy is getting us into, I'm proud to say I've never voted to go to war since I've been a member of Congress. And what's happening now with this illegal war that Donald Trump got us into is costing us money, it's costing us lives, it's costing us allies, and it's costing everybody across the country a lot of money because prices are being increased. It has to stop. We have to stop him. We have to win the midterms so we can stop him, gain control of the agenda, and gain power to subpoena, to make sure we lay all the facts bare for the American people to see, and we're gaining progress. We are winning.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you to each of you. Next question. So in light of what you just said, what actions, we want to know what this looks like in practice, what actions would you take to confront, to disrupt, and or restrict the assault against American citizens and non-citizens alike that's being conducted by ICE and the CBP, sorry. And we'll start with Congressman Thompson.
Thank you. I have. As I said, not only have I participated in the rallies that Indivisible and others have had, but I've had my own. We had over 1,500 people turn out to the Kristi Noem, anti-Kristi Noem rally. We had an outpouring of folks who said ICE is out of control. And I'm proud to say that when ICE was created, I voted no. I was afraid that there wasn't proper oversight. I was afraid that there weren't proper guardrails, and sadly, I was correct. I have voted against funding ICE, and I have stood strong with most of my Democratic colleagues to make sure that this ICE funding and expansion did not come to fruition. And I will continue to be there to make sure that it doesn't. Every member of our community is important. Every member of our community has to be respected. Every member of our community has to be protected. That is the charge of every elected and every citizen. We need to stand together on this. Yes, Donald Trump needs to be impeached. He needs to be kicked out with the 25th Amendment, but sadly, this cabinet doesn't have the fortitude to do that. And there's one thing that I agree with Donald Trump on. He said, if the Democrats win the midterms, they're going to impeach me. You bet we're going to impeach him.
Looks like I'm the only one on stage without a lot of notes. Because let me tell you, I don't need notes to tell the truth. And it's my job to tell the truth because for decades, we have not had truth in our district. Because the reality is, yes, on January 14th, many Democrats voted to impeach Kristi Noem. And I'm glad she's gone. But Kristi Noem will be fine. You know who won't be fine? The 52 people who died in ICE detention centers last year without due process. That's murder. And on that same day, January 14th, when we voted to impeach Kristi Noem, that was the same day that corporate Democrats sided with Donald Trump to pass the National Security Appropriations Bill, which funded citizen surveillance and our national security apparatus that surveils American citizens and fuels ICE detention centers. So on the one hand, we can impeach Kristi Noem. To what effect? At the same time, those same Democrats fund Donald Trump's agenda, the same regime that murdered 52 people. That is a lie. That is not truthful, and you should be embarrassed to speak that way. These words need to be said. And what can we do? In Congress, we can abolish ICE. And locally, we can use all of our power to pressure local police forces, as this community did when we picketed all together outside Sheriff Ingram's office, and we drove impact in our own communities. We did that. This room did that. Indivisible did that. We hold power. But please, do not allow yourself to be lied to anymore.
Thanks. For this question, we will start again with you, Mr. Jones. A number of experts, including the UN Special Rapporteur, have concluded that Israel has been committing genocide in Gaza. As of last summer, 77% of Democratic voters agree. Yet congressional Democrats, 135 of whom took donations from AIPAC in the last election cycle, have continued to support and to fund Israel. Do you agree that Israel is committing genocide? If not, why not? And if so, what are you prepared to do about it? Start with you.
This is where I'd like to be very honest with the room. Last week, $750,000 worth of attack ads were placed against me, bought from a super PAC and dark money PAC funded by big oil, big tobacco, tech, and other foreign interests. $750,000 of attack ads. I won't tell you why they're coming my way, but you can guess why. These are the same special interests that are putting us in war today and putting American lives at risk. And I've been getting calls frequently, noting that they're watching my every move. And I can't fight every single special interest at once. So what I'll say to this room is, anyone is willing, please have a conversation with me. I spent over a year in the Middle East. I studied Arabic. I was a Middle Eastern Studies minor in college. I know this region well, and I will fight for peace. I will fight for a free Palestine, and I'll fight to get rid of Bibi Netanyahu as a mass murderer.
I do, however, have a follow-up question, which is, do you agree that Israel is committing genocide?
Do it. Say it.
No, I cannot. I can't. Because if I do, millions of dollars will be spent against me, coordinated by...
Then why run?
Then why run? All right, I'll say it.
Do it. Do it. Israel is committing genocide. Say it. Okay.
Folks,
Please, no talking from the audience.
yeah, no talking from the audience, please.
If you believe that me saying that word will create more peace in America, will create more peace in the Middle East, if you truly believe that, I will acknowledge that Israel is an apartheid state. I will acknowledge that Bibi Netanyahu is a war criminal. And I will also acknowledge that the Jewish people do not deserve Bibi. They don't deserve that, and we do not deserve Donald Trump. And if you want me to say something performatively, you know where my heart is. You know where it is. I take no money from AIPAC, I take no money from any corporate lobby, I take no money from any special interest, and I will fight for the freedom of every person on this planet. And because I have lived with the cost of war in my own family, I will fight to make sure we never go to war again. Every morning I woke up and put my father to bed, a fully disabled veteran. I felt the cost of war in my family. So you know where I stand. I don't have to say the word. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been to war, and I've seen the horrors of war up front and personal. I was wounded in combat, and I've seen so much in combat is one of the reasons why I've never voted for a war since going to the Congress. I believe, and Mike McGuire mentioned the bills that he would endorse. I'm a co-author of Block the Bombs. I'm a co-author of Silver Shield. I believe strongly in a two-state solution, and I believe war crimes have been committed by Netanyahu and his folks, and I believe that every war crime should be investigated and prosecuted to whatever level they rise. No one's above the law, and anyone guilty of any war crimes, to whatever level they rise to, should be prosecuted under the fullest extent of the law. I will not vote for a single penny to go to Israel that can be used on offensive weapons. And I believe that Netanyahu needs to go, and go quickly, and the only thing better than that is him taking Trump with him, because together they are the absolute worst, not only for our country, but for the Palestinians. And as far as AIPAC, I've never received a contribution from AIPAC.
Thank you. I do have the same follow-up question I had for the other two gentlemen, which is one of those war crimes genocide? Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza?
As I said, I believe they're committing war crimes. They should be tried, prosecuted, and if it rises to something other than war crimes, so be it.
Steve, over to you.
Yes, thank you. We're going to now turn to the lightning round. We're going to do a lightning round of quick yes or no questions and yes or no answers, or an abstention. We want to do this so we can cover many issues as possible. We believe our audience deserves direct answers without qualifications to these questions. I'll pose each question to all of the candidates simultaneously. After each question, candidates will raise their hand in response to either the yes or no prompt. Candidates may abstain from answering by not raising their hand to either prompt. At the end of the entire round, each candidate will get 1 minute to explain their yes or no answers or their abstentions if they wish. Are those rules clear to everybody?
When you ask for hands raised, will you start with yes or start with no?
I'll start with yes each time to keep it as clear as possible. Would you vote to expand the number of members of the United States Supreme Court? Yes?
You're going easy on us.
Just wait. Do you accept donations from political action committees? Yes? No?
Wait, what kind of political action committees?
PACs.
Corporate PACs or all PACs?
All PACs.
Okay, will you say it again?
Do you accept donations from political action committees? PACs.
Yeah.
Okay, you can explain your answer later. Do you believe ICE...
You gotta know, right? I'm a no.
I'm sorry, no.
The only one. Although Audrey has a good reason.
Do you believe ICE should be abolished and wrongdoing prosecuted? Yes? That's everybody. Would you vote to continue military aid to Israel? Yes? No?
What kind of military aid? defensive or offensive or?
I'm going to pose the question, you have to interpret it, and you can explain your answer later. Would you vote to continue military aid to Israel? Yes? No? Abstain? Would you vote to establish a system of universal health care such as Medicare for all? Yes? Thank you. Do House Democrats need a better leader than Hakeem Jeffries? Yes? No? Abstain? Would you vote to increase the budget for the U.S. military? Yes? No? Would you vote to reduce wealth inequality by taxing the rich? Yes, those are all yeses. Do you believe Donald Trump, in his second term, has committed impeachable offenses?
How about first term?
Do you, strike that, would you vote to impeach Donald Trump? Thank you. You will have 1 minute to explain any abstention or any other answer you gave. Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, on the issue of military aid to Israel, I think it's important to state that defensive is one thing, offensive is another. I will not vote to send a penny to Israel that can be used for offensive weaponry. And on the military question, not only would I not vote for more money for the military, but that is an area where we need to go to get money back. And on the tax the rich, I have voted, carried legislation that's been signed into law that taxes the rich.
Guys, I'm not normally this surly, I promise. And my answers are pretty clear, but I do have to clear up something else. The National Defense Authorization Act, which Congressman Thompson voted on in December 17th when we were actively waging an illegal war against Venezuela. Congressman Thompson voted yes, and he'll tell you that I was merely authorizing over $1 trillion of weapons spending, merely authorizing. And that was not actually in any way enabling the military-industrial complex. Well, if that's the case, then why did Jared Huffman, why did Mark Desaulnier, why did Ro Khanna, why did John Garamendi, why did Zoe Lofgren, why did Kevin Mullen, why did virtually every single member of the Bay Area vote no? No in protest to Trump, because those members knew how to stand up to the military-industrial complex and the corporate interests that fund our war. And when it comes to wealth inequality, in the 20 years that Congressman Thompson has been on the tax subcommittee on Ways and Means, corporate taxes in America have been slashed by 70%. So you can say whatever you like.
Time.
But the truth is there in front of us.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. I just want to point out, that's a pretty naive statement. The authorization bill had two things in it that were extremely important. One was an authorization to use military force. The second was force. That authorization bill withdrew those two authorizations, and it made it clear what Donald Trump did in Venezuela and what he's done in Iran are absolutely illegal. That was an important vote, and I think I was in pretty good company. Most California Democrats voted for that, including Nancy Pelosi, who was the head of the Bay Area organization. And as far as corporate taxes, everybody here knows how hard I fought against H.R. 1, the big tax cut that gave rich people a big tax cut and corporations a big tax cut. Republicans have been in control of the House of Representatives for 73% of the time that I've been in Congress. So I'm not going to bear the sins of a Republican majority.
Thank you. So this is a question for all candidates with 2-minute answers, beginning with Mr. Thompson. The majority of Americans are teetering on a financial brink, living paycheck to paycheck. Rising costs of home ownership, groceries, education, and health care have made the situation desperate. Meanwhile, centibillionaires and corporations are taking and keeping more and more wealth for themselves. What solutions do you propose?
Thank you. I have a couple. First, we need to balance out the tax programs in California, and we've done that. When we had the majority in the last Congress, we passed billions of dollars of tax increases on wealthy folks and corporations. Some of those are still the law today. Taxing on stock buybacks, corporate minimum tax, and those are things that will, in fact, help a great deal, but we've got a lot further to go. We need to bump the personal tax and the corporate tax up, and we need to get back what these guys gave away in H.R. 1, which was a huge tax cut to the richest people and to corporations. And don't lose sight of the fact that in addition to do that, to make sure all of Trump's rich buddies and got as much as he could give them, they also added $4.2 trillion onto our national debt and cut $1 trillion out of our health care. We're all going to suffer for that. In addition to that, I have legislation right now today, the American Affordability Act, that uses the tax code to lower costs on housing, health care, energy, food, child care and elder care, and education. That's an important bill. It's been widely received. As a matter of fact, Jared Huffman and I had a roundtable today in Petaluma on that, and that is a bill that will return money into people's pockets. And on top of that, I have legislation that will recapture the $1,900 that Trump's illegal tariffs took from every family in this country and give it back to them, making sure that corporations don't pocket that money.
Thank you.
Growing up, my family relied on food stamps, Medicaid, and disability checks. My teenage mother raised 3 boys. She took care of my father, a disabled veteran, and she worked as many hours as she could so that I could be a first-generation college graduate. I graduated from Yale University with a full scholarship. I started working at the age of 14 and worked all the way through college. My first job paid me $3.75 an hour as a seasonal laborer. So I understand the reality that so many Americans live in. And that's why it infuriates me when I see men of power claim weakness or claim helplessness and blame the other side. The tax subcommittee on Ways and Means, or rather just Ways and Means, the most powerful committee, is staffed by senior Democrats, all men. 5 men, ages, I believe, 74 and over with an average age of 80, who are all funded by corporate interests. So why do you think our tax code is the way it is? Why has wealth inequality in America over the past 3 decades grown exponentially such that we now live in the Gilded Age? We've been here before. We know what this is, and we know what corruption looks like. This is corruption right in front of our face. And to blame Republicans again and again and again from the same blue dogs who in their own mantra talk about fighting on behalf of corporations, what about fighting on behalf of people? Why are we afraid to talk about a wealth tax? Why are we afraid to talk about taking on America's largest corporations? And again, I'll remind you, there's only one candidate on this stage that has coming at them nearly $1 million in attack ads from these exact same corporations. So, if you're looking to wonder why, there's an answer right in front of your face.
thanks. It was oblique, but I think clear enough. Congressman, would you like to respond?
I would. The top dais and Ways and Means to start with has a number of women. Linda Sanchez, Susan Delvaney, Terry Sewell, and one other one, Judy Chu. And the fact of the matter is, you can be against anybody you want, but when the numbers are the numbers, everybody knows what this president and his mega enablers were able to do with reconciliation. They cut $1 trillion from healthcare. They devastated all of the climate change, renewable energy provisions that were put in place with my bill, and they are continuing to go after it. So it's not that my colleague over here, my opponent, has all of the answer. I mean, he's worth over $100 million. And for him to say that he's having this bad, that he understands this from the ground up, I think that's a stretch. Nobody on the Ways and Means Committee is worth $100 million.
So first of all, there are several lies in that statement. The first would be that he did mention many women in the Ways and Means Committee. But I'll sit down.
Yeah.
But they are not the senior members. They are not the ranking members. And they are the members of power. On Congressman Thompson's own website, you can see how much money I'm worth. He put it on the resources section, and $100 million is a lie. And by the way, I did not make my money in Congress. I did not become a millionaire in Congress like you did, Congressman Thompson. All my money was made in the private sector. I've donated more money in my life than Congressman Thompson has made in his. And I'm a 35-year-old. And I've committed the rest of my life to helping my country.
We're going to bring this to a close. And
So are we allowed to just make up numbers?
we're going to bring
That's
this to a
30
close.
seconds.
Yeah, thanks.
You can look at his records. You can look at the report that he had to file to say how much money he has. You can look at all the corporations that he has invested in with his firm Dragoneer. Some of them are pretty doggone shady and have cost a lot of people a lot of grief. Many of them have had to pay federal fines, and many of them are facing suits today.
Okay, thanks.
No, I have to respond because
No,
that.
somebody's going to have the last word here. We're going to need to bring this to a close, but you will have a chance to have a closing statement. You can certainly, add anything that you need to say there. But in the interest of time and trying to keep things balanced, we need to move forward. I have a series of individual questions, one for each of you. They're different because you're each different. You're bringing something different and new to your race. Mr. Jones, so tech billionaires and other wealthy donors are attempting to influence our politics at a never-before-seen scale, especially here in the state. How do you respond to concerns about the influence and interest of your donor network, which draws heavily on Silicon Valley donors?
Let me start by saying that I could not agree more with Senator McGuire. You need someone who will fight back and who will punch back. And I do apologize to this room for the break in decorum, but it's because I am so angry. And if you ask yourself that one question, who will be willing to put their body on the line? Their body. I was in Minneapolis. I was here with you in Sonoma in front of the sheriff's office. I know what it's like to fight. And to answer your question specifically, yes, I do have individuals from the tech community. That's because I share a team with Rokana, who's a close friend of mine. So over 50% of my donors are either donors to Sam Liccardo or Rokana, two members of Congress who have opened up their community and their hand to me. And those are the last two competitive races we've had in the Bay Area. So yes, that's the truth. 5% of my donors work in venture capital, 5%. I did not work in venture capital, to be clear. I built healthcare companies. I built one of the largest mental health clinics in the US and one of the largest maternity clinics in the US. I also started an organization called the American Dream Institute, which every day speaks to millions of young men and women online and cultivates left-wing voices to fight back against MAGA extremism. That's a nonprofit that I started. because I've seen the problem. I've seen the darkness that exists online. And I see where young people in our country are going, and we need to fight back. And we need people who know how to fight back. So I do apologize. But please take it only as a sign of my eagerness to make this country right again, and to be the country that I believe in, that gave me so much. That's why I'm doing this.
So one from Congressman Thompson. So people are concerned about the age of their elected officials, including Democrats, some of whom are in their 80s and are now running for re-election. Many complain that older members of Congress don't understand the world we live in or have solutions that address the demands of American society today. You've served since 1999. What's your response to these concerns?
Thank you for the question. First, I'm not 90, I'm not 80, so I don't fall into that category. I'm running for re-election because of everything that everyone has said. We need the best team on the field. We need people that can fight this president, can fight his mega enablers, someone who's battle-tested, someone who's experienced, and someone who is effective. This is not the time for on-the-job training. I also want to say that this race has been looked at by just about every imaginable group. And all of those young folks who are looking for young leaders made a choice. It was the Redwood Empire Young Democrats, they endorsed me. The Sacramento Young Democrats, they endorsed me. The only incumbent that they endorsed, by the way, the University of California at Davis Democrats, they endorsed me. The high school Young Democrats, they endorsed me. Ro Khanna and Sam Liccardo, they endorsed me. So I believe that I am the one best equipped to take this fight to Trump, to make sure that working families, the American people, people in Sonoma County and across our district and great country get the representation that they need. I'm in the best position to deliver for all of you, for all of our district, for our country, and for our nation. I have gone to war to fight for this democracy, and I will continue to fight for this democracy. Thank you.
This is a question for all of our candidates on stage. You have 2 minutes to answer. When we finally regain control of our democracy, how must we rebuild our country? In other words, it's not only what you're against, but what you are for. What role will you play in rebuilding our democracy? And we'll start with you, Congressman Thompson.
Thank you very much. I think right now, all the focus needs to be on stopping this president from doing any more damage. That's why it is so important that we flip the House. I believe we're going to flip the House, and I see a pathway to victory in the Senate. This is going to be incredibly important because we've got to push back. We have to stop him. And with the majority, we'll be able to do that. We will control the agenda. We will determine which bills come up for hearings and for votes. We will control the purse strings to and have a say-so in where the money goes and how it goes, and we will have subpoena power where we can lay it out clear for all Americans to see just how dangerous this guy is. And in the immediate, what we need to do is focus on the one thing that people are so frightened about right now, and that's their ability to get through the day to make ends meet. Everything is too damn expensive. We have an affordability crisis. It's difficult to buy homes, most cases impossible to buy homes. Our utility costs are off the charts. Our gas prices are off the charts. Food prices are too high. There's an agricultural crisis going on, not only just in our district, but across the country, which will exacerbate that. We have to bring the prices down. That's why my American Affordability Act is so important. Healthcare, housing, transportation, energy, and food. We've got to get those prices down. And we've got to make sure that we rebuild in a way that we never go back to a situation where someone like Donald Trump or J.D. Vance can be elected.
I'd like to talk about the problem, the past, and the future. In terms of the problem, I think Audrey and I both agree, and I think every progressive in America agrees, that corruption and special interest money in politics is the problem. Citizens United is the problem. And I hear these, we can't change the Supreme Court. It's gonna be too challenging, but we can do other things. We have currently, right now, AB 1984 being introduced in California by Chris Rogers. There we go. That would prohibit all California companies, all companies with employees in California from contributing to political campaigns. Several states across the country have already done this. The DNC has already said that in presidential primaries, no special interest money will be allowed, and they could do the same thing for all Democratic primaries. We have the power. Everyone in this room has the power to endorse and elect individuals who reject all special interest money. If you believe that is the root of the problem in our politics, which is what I believe, that is the way to reform our government and to eliminate the corruption, and that will fix wealth inequality in our country, because when we get corporate money out of politics, we will be able to raise taxes on corporations. We will be able to fund healthcare and drive Medicare for all. We will be able to do all the things in the Democratic Party agenda, but first we must eliminate corporate and special interest. That is the core of the corruption. And remember, we had full control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency in the first 2 years of the Biden administration. That administration promised you universal health care. It promised to repeal the Trump corporate tax cuts, and it promised to be a bridge to the next generation. None of those things happened. And we had full control. And every Democrat in Congress is complicit. And that's because half of our Democrats are owned by corporate America. That's the simple truth.
Time now for our closing statements. 3 minutes each. We encourage candidates to explore new issues and new statements that they haven't already made tonight. And we will start in reverse order with Congressman Thompson.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you all for being here. The times have found us. We've got a lot of work to do, and this is the most serious of times. This president has launched an illegal and unconstitutional war in Iran. ICE is rogue and disrupting our communities. $1 trillion of health care cuts, which is going to hurt all of us. And now they want to pass the SAVE Act. That bill will suppress votes, and the only thing it's designed to save is this president's rear end. I've had enough. I hope you've had enough. We need to stand up and protect our democracy. We need to address affordability. We need to stand up to Trump, say no more forever wars, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I'm battle-tested, I'm experienced, I'm effective, and this is not the time for on-the-job training. When we flip the House and the Senate, we're going to be able to address the issues that you and I both care about. I've already mentioned single-payer health care like Medicare for all. Lower the cost to working families and to all Americans. Impeach Trump. Tax the rich and the corporations to make sure they pay their fair share. Stop the rogue ICE, and we can do it. We can do it working together. I have incredible grassroots support that I'd like to just point out. My campaign contributions, 63% of them come from our district. 72% of them are $250 or less. I have the endorsement of the, as I mentioned, the Redwood Young Democrats, the UC Davis Student Democrats, the Sacramento Young Democrats, Planned Parenthood, the Sierra Club, the Equality PAC, and I would be honored to have your support and your endorsement, and I will work nonstop with you side by side to make sure that we get through these tough times, we protect our democracy, and we return America to the great country that we all grew up with. Thank you all very much.
Thank you everyone for being here. And thank you everyone for putting up with me. I know who I am. I'm a welfare kid. I've worked every minimum wage job. I took care of my grandfather and changed his colostomy bag every day, for those of you who know what that is. I've cleaned shit, literally. I grew up in a 700 square foot home. I am proud to be the first in my family to go to college. And I am proud that I couldn't have done it without a public school that was fantastic and a mom who could change the world. That same mom, later in her life, after being a waitress, went back to school to be a nurse and got her associate's degree to be a nurse because she believes that God put her on this planet to take care of people. And she's the most important person in my life. Yes, I started businesses. I started a nonprofit. I explained it to you because I see all across our country the darkness that is overwhelming young people. That's how I've committed my time to healthcare and to fighting back against Trump online. And you'll see that there's a distinction where Audrey and I don't have as many endorsements. A few months ago, I was a private citizen. My wife and I, 2 young kids, both of us working, commuting an hour every day. But then I was called to do this. I was asked to do this. And I do have the endorsement of Indivisible YOLO, which I won by an overwhelming majority. And I do have the endorsement of Our Revolution, Bernie Sanders PAC. So, I think I got the important ones. And all those other endorsements were given before I entered the race. Or a couple weren't, but the vast, vast majority were. And I will never lie to you and make up numbers. You can all see I'm not worth $100 million. I'm not worth $400 million like Nancy Pelosi. Or millions of dollars like Congressman Thompson, who again made his money while serving you in Congress. That's just the truth. We need a new generation in Congress. There is only one Democrat, one parent Democrat, younger than me in Congress. One. Under 40, there are 2. Where's their representation? Where's the representation for young people? Where's the representation for young families? Because if you want to talk about the future, and you want to talk about representation, we need people who will fight for the future of our country and who will live up to the promise that America has always made for its citizens, that the next generation will always have it better than the last, that we will leave a better country to our kids. And there are 3 candidates on this stage that will fight every day for that and represent that, and will do that. And one candidate is the 3rd most corporate funded Democrat in Congress. And I know that sounds harsh, and I'm sorry, but thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. You don't have to believe me about his wealth. You can look up on the filings that he had to make when he became a candidate. It's clear, $100 million. You can look at the different investments that he has, and you can also look at who is contributing to him. He raised $3 million, most of which came from fellow venture capitalists in San Francisco and the Silicon Valley, big money interest on the East Coast. The majority of his money is the average amount, $4,600. And I have a list of all the Republicans who contributed to J.D. Vance, Donald Trump Victory PAC, that also contributed to him. And I'd be happy to show that to you at any time. And it's all public record. So the fact of the matter is, you can't say you're going to do what the people who fund you tell you to do, and then take millions of dollars from the richest corporate people in the country.
Sorry, we're at time. Thank you. These are closing statements, so I do want to bring us to a close. You're welcome. I'm sure the candidates will be here if you have further questions for them a bit afterwards. Once we get into this kind of back and forth, there's no way to really bring that to, I think, a satisfactory close. But if you have questions about things that you want to ask the candidates, you're certainly welcome to do that after we have the meeting. And there's this thing called the internet. You can look up a lot of the things that are being discussed, and do a little bit of digging. You can also look through some of the materials that we have for you. I want to thank the candidates for participating. Thank you for spending time. Thank you for the energy and the wit and the dedication and the energy that you brought here. It's fantastic.